Hello everyone. In this video tutorial, we will discuss working with the component script. First, let's create a new component where the work will be more similar to the real development process. And based on this foundation, we will familiarize ourselves with the still unfamiliar tools and platform. Let's imagine that we have a case where we need to develop an application for a small car dealership. This application will allow employees to record and store information about newly arrived cars for their subsequent sale. Let's create a new component where we will record new information about the arrived cars. Let's go to the settings, name it cars. Choose the domain, and start setting up the object model. As you remember, in the previous application, we used the product number as the primary key, which we manually entered on the form. This time, we will use a unique unit key, which we will generate in the process of creating out the topsoil. Let's create our first property and name it UIT. It will be primary key, query, and the property type will remain string. The second one is a carful name. Let's name it carful name. Also feel that title is going to be required and query and the property type will remain string. The next property is the production E. U in title also require query and the type will be integer. Lastly, we will have a car price also required query, and the type will be a number. We will use number instead of integer this time to allow decimal values. Next, let's set up our workspace. We will create a simple form slightly different from our previous application. We need to add a panel to our workspace and then add our fields. Just call carful name and production here and the car price. Let's also change the orientation of our panel to vertical and add a button to launch out the flow in advance. Now let's move to the data flow editor. The first step will be get action model. The next one is execute script, which is intended for executing Python scripts. With this step, we will generate our UIT and create a variable for it. Choose our source step. First, we need to import the UIT library. Then access our data model through item and come up with a name for the UIT string. So press compile and close. The next step will be Update Entry. Let's configure it. Select the previous step and our components and choose the name fields. Our full name. Why did you do this? We will understand it in the following lessons. Save the result in new car and map for other fields. For UIT, we set what we recorded in the execute script step, our UIT string. In this string, our unique key will be stored. Then select data car price, that car full name and data production here. Perfect. Now set the step right response. Select our previous step. Close it and let's rename our data flow to make it clear what it is used for. Let it be simple. Create. Now go back to the definition and let's configure our button. Give it a meaningful label. For example, save. And bind it to our data flow create car, actions, common type, execute it a flow. Create car, then press the save button and ready to publish. Now we can proceed to create another component which will be responsible for displaying data. Let's create it and call Cars Data Grid. Use the main and go back to definition. Let's add a panel and change the orientation to vertical. So the next video will be about the layout process. Let's make it easier and put our elements in different panels. At the bottom we will have the data grid, and at the top 2 panels. One for label and another for buttons. Let's add a data grid to our panel and configure it. First, we need to link it to the component where the new records create in process occurs, and add some columns. It is going to be about 3 columns. Next column will be car full name, so let's find it. The second one will be about reduction here. And the last one will contain the information about car price. Now we need to add some cosmetics. Move the label into our panel. Let's change its size. Let it be 28. Change color. And let's change the translation value to cars in stock. Also select the growth for all panel settings, which will automatically adjust their size to the content. Now move to the component script to write the function that will create the model window. Open it above the current form and the grid. Create a template for the model window context. Platform services. Dialog builder. So now we need to go to Applications and find the components from which we will pull the model window. In our case, it's cars. You need to find the key of this component and save it. Go back to the component with the model window creation function, and in component ID, you write this key. Next, we need to refer to Dialog Builder and set the title to be used when opening the model window. In our case, the title will be Create Record and specify our page ID. To see the page ID, we need to perform a series of actions. We need to return to the component with the creation form. Create a new page. Go to it. So add the button and specify an action related to transitioning to the main page. The idea of which we want to know. So actions, common type, open page, main page. Now we need to press page info here and see that the button common leads to the required page, and here is its ID. You need to copy it. Return to our components with the model window function and paste this ID into page ID. Then set the size of the model window with size. The next step is to define actions upon closing the model window, but we will return to this later. So just let it be empty. Lastly, open. It will open the model window we just created. Now, let's add a functionality to our application for updating the data grid. After saving the new record in the data grid, we need to refresh the page to see the new entry. But for this application, we will write a function to automatically update the grid after an action. So we need to create a function that gets the grid. Declare global variable, global sendet.agrit, and store out that grid from sender. Now we write the refresh function to update the data grid. Refer to the global sendet.agrit and use the refresh method. Now we need to link function getDataGrid to even speed in DataGrid. For example, on data source loaded, each time data loads in DataGrid, this function will execute. And we will put this function refresh here, so it will run when the model window is closed. Press compile. Save. Add a UI element to call the model window function in one of the top right panels. Set justify content to end in the settings of the panel, and align items to end. Also do the same with this panel. Let's give the button some meaningful name. Let's just add new car. Then we need to add action. Common type execute script. Go back to the component script. Copy the function name. Copy the function name and paste it into the button. Meta name. Open model. Now we need to save the component. Press Ready to publish. Go to the Publication menu. Publish both of our components. Now go to the new home. Navigation menu for the main. and add new item, important car.grids page. And press the Save button. After that, you need to return to Workplace. Go to Cars.grids. Press the button and see that the model window opens. Now enter the name. For example, Toyota, Rolla, Industrial, Enterprise, 10, press Save. After that, close the model window and see that the new entry appears in the data grid in off-grid.